Thanks for joining me. This is Danny and welcome back to my Real Tech series. Today we are going to be playing with the Ultimate Cars mod. Hooray! It is a mod that adds vehicles to the game, like little cars that we can drive around. And it also adds quite a bit of infrastructure to support the fuel for those cars and the building and repairing of those cars. So it's actually a fairly involved and fun mod to play. So to get started with this mod, we're going to need all the stuff that we see in this chest before we even start making our cars. We're going to need some canola seeds. Now these we can find just by breaking grass in the world, and we have a small chance of getting canola seeds from each piece of grass, just like the same way that you would get wheat seeds and a lot of seeds from some other mods. And then down here I just have a few things that I'm going to use in order to make a canola farm, because we're going to need canola to put in an oil mill, and this is going to make canola oil, which we are then going to process, and then we're also going to make a blast furnace, which is going to take wood and turn it into methanol, and it's also going to give us charcoal as a byproduct. And then we need a backmix reactor to mix those, and then we need a split tank in order to get the actual diesel fuel that we're going to put in a fuel station that's going to power our cars. And then to make the cars, we're going to need a car workshop and 8 car workshop parts. And then we're also going to need some fluid extractors, tanks, and fluid pipes. And then for fun, we've got some asphalt and a yellow painter in order to make some nice little roads that we can drive on. And when we get to that point, we're going to talk about like how to design a road well for these cars and basically how the cars handle and stuff like that. And then we're also going to need some way to get RF into these 3 machines. So I'm just going to pick this stuff up and we're going to put all this stuff together over in a nearby village. It's a ghost train for Halloween. So the first thing we're going to have to do is to make a canola farm. So I've got this tree farm here that's producing more trees than we have, so I'm actually going to take half of that tree farm and I'm going to convert it into a canola farm. All right, we have a decent amount of canola. I've got a little bit of infrastructure set up here for our little corner gas station, and then this is our little refinery over here. This is where we're going to be making the oil. So I've got the oil mill set up over here. We just need to get some RF in it. And I do have some wiring running into this building, so we should be able to do that fairly easily. And now if we look in the GUI, we can see that it stores 10,000 RF. Now this mod does have a couple of RF generation blocks of its own. First of all, it has this dynamo, which is fairly cheap. And when you put a crank on it, you can just right click on it and it will generate RF. So that would be like if you're just starting out and you don't have any RF generation yet, that would be a good way to get you started. Once you are generating diesel, then you can use this generator to generate RF from the diesel. However, we're using immersive engineering to generate RF, so we're all set for that. So we take our oil mill and we put in some canola. Now there's 2 things we're going to get from this oil mill. One of them is canola oil. The other is this rape cake. Now rape cake is kind of a waste item, although you can use it for wheat, or you can use it as wheat for animals. So like you can breed with it and stuff like that. But aside from that, it's pretty much useless. So we're going to have some way of dealing with that and getting rid of it so that it doesn't clog up the machine, because if we get 64 rape cake in here, of course, it's not going to generate any more canola oil. So as you can see, it generates 100 millibuckets of canola oil per canola. So our next one's going to be a blast. What the? Whoa, I think I found a dupe bug. So the next is our blast furnace. This guy takes wood. It makes charcoal and methanol. So you can actually use this for a charcoal setup, for charcoal automation. And again, we have to get some RF in here. So we throw some wood in there, and just like a regular furnace, it's going to burn the wood and make charcoal out of it, but then it's also going to create methanol. So Oh, and then the charcoal ended up in this drawer. Yay, so now we have charcoal automation and methanol automation. So now we're generating this canola oil and methanol. What are we going to do with it? We are going to take that and put it in our backmix reactor. So then we're going to take some fluid extractors and pipes, although in this case we only need fluid extractors because they're right next to it, to extract the fluids from our blast furnace and our oil mill and have them go into our backmix reactors. Now, a blast furnace and an oil mill are capable of keeping up with two backmix reactors. And that's going to generate canola methanol mix. So then we have to take that mix and we have to put it in our split tanks. Now we could actually have up to 6 split tanks, which I may do. I may go back and make some more. And we take our fluid extractors to pull from these guys. So the fluid extractors are basically just pipes that extract fluids. And then we have fluid pipes, which we're going to run into these guys. Now they have to go into the side or the bottom. They cannot go into the top. So that's why I have them placed like this. And now those fluids, the mix should be coming out of there and going into here. So now we have our stored canola methanol mix. And this is going to mix together in all 3 of these tanks. And we can actually have 6 of these. Right now, each one of these backmix reactors, as far as I can tell, should be able to keep up with 3 split tanks. And this is going to make... this is going to make biodiesel and glycerin. Now, glycerin right now is a waste product, so it has no purpose. So we're just going to put that we're going to avoid that. And the biodiesel is what we're going to use to power our car. Hooray! I've got a little tunnel under here. I've got fluid extractors coming out of the split tanks, and I'm bringing them over here to a tank that's going to hold a bunch of fluid for us. And then I'm going to extract diesel with my last fluid extractor from the same tank, and we're going to bring it over here into our fuel station, because the fuel station also has an inventory. It stores a certain amount of fuel. Actually, let's get rid of this block. And you can put filters on these fluid extractors. So some time has passed and I've generated a bunch of gas or biodiesel and other stuff. As soon as we have 1 bucket of glycerin in here, I'm going to take it out and put it in this tank, so that way nothing else will end up going in that tank other than glycerin. And then I'm going to connect the pipe, so then all the glycerin should end up going in that tank and all of the biodiesel should end up in this tank. As you can see, we have quite a bit here. I don't want to connect the pipes to the fuel station yet, because I don't want it to empty out this tank, because if it empties out the tank, it might end up putting glycerin in there. So I'm just going to let that run for a while. In the meantime, we can set up our car workshop. And basically the way this thing works is we have our little garage here. This is our our little service station. We put this car workshop right there, and we surround it by car workshop parts. So we end up with a 3x3, and there we go. It becomes a multi-block structure, and when we right click on it, we see that we have this big crafting grid here. So this is basically how we're going to craft cars inside the car workshop. And then once we craft it, it'll spawn the car right on top of that platform. And we can also repair cars here too, which we'll see in a bit. But before we can do that, I'm going to have to run home and collect a lot of parts and ingredients, because cars do require quite a bit of stuff. The recipes for the cars do not appear in JEI. You do have to go to the wiki for this mod in order to see the recipes for the cars. But basically, this is how they are. The wiki actually has all the recipes, but of course we can get all the other ones in JEI. But there's basically four different types of cars. We have a wooden car, which holds a single passenger. This is kind of our cheapest and slowest car. And then we have a 2-seater wooden car, which is similar, except that it has 2 seats. And then we have the transporter. Now this is one that has 1 or 2 chests, and it can carry a bunch of stuff. And then we have the one that I'm going to make, and that is the sports car. This one, it has the 6-cylinder engine, which is a little bigger, some clay, and then all these parts, which we'll take a look at when we craft it together. Most of the cars have similar parts, like they're all kind of the same parts used in different ways, except there's 2 different engines. There's a 4-cylinder engine and there's a 6-cylinder engine, which is obviously going to be more expensive, but it's also going to be more powerful. We've got a gas tank, some wheels, and seats. Hooray, I'm ready to make my first car. I've got all the ingredients in here. We've got the windshield, which is just some glass. We've got a seat, which is, it doesn't matter what kind of wool you use, it's always going to look the same. And a control unit, a chest, the green hardened clay. Now, obviously the color of the clay is going to determine the color of your car, and they do have to all be the same color. So you have to have 4 of the same color clay. We've got our 6-cylinder engine. This was the most expensive part because it required a lot of iron. 2 3-cylinder engines, which both require 3 blocks of iron, and then these things each require 3 iron. So 6 blocks of iron, and yeah, a lot of iron. And then the car tank, which also requires a lot of iron, and the axles, which also require some iron, and a bunch of black wool. And that's it. So now we just click spawn car. Okay, so I removed the roof entirely, and then it worked. So, oh, look at that. Look at the brown. That looks really nice. The mix of brown and green. So that's the sports car. Nice. So when you first spawn the car, you right click to get in, and it puts you in third person, and you hit the R key to start it up. Actually, I'm going to stop it because I want to save gas, because if we hit the I key to look at the inventory in the car, we'll see we have a tiny bit of fuel. So when you first make the car, it has a little bit of fuel just so you can drive it to the gas station. And that's the I key, and the car does have an inventory. All the cars have a little bit of an inventory, and then the truck that we looked at has a larger inventory that you can access from the outside as well as the internal inventory. And of course, the cars also have keys. So they come with 2 keys, and we can use those keys to lock the car. And if we do lock the car, we can't get in it. So no one will be able to get into the car if we lock it. But of course, I'm the only one on this server, so I'm just going to leave it unlocked. And I'm going to leave the keys in here because that's fine. I connected this pipe, and the glycerin is now in here, as we can see. And like I said, this is garbage, so we'll have to figure out some way to avoid that. And now the biodiesel went in here because it seems that it'll hold on to the biodiesel as long as there's some glycerin, or it'll hold on to an equivalent amount. So now we can hook up the pipes for the fuel station without worrying about these tanks getting filled with glycerin. Down in my ugly tunnel. Okay, so now if we look in here, we should see that this guy is filling it with fuel, and it holds up to 16 buckets of fuel. Whoops. All we have to do is get kind of close to it, and then when we click on it, we'll see that... Oh, actually, we're not close enough. We'll see that we're not close enough. Okay, maybe I should move that pump out a little bit. Okay, so now it says ready instead of saying free. And we can see that the car here is sports car, and we can click start, and it's going to start fueling up our car. Nice. And this bar is showing us how much fuel we have. These numbers are showing us our speed. Obviously right now it's 0. There. Now our car is full of fuel. And this guy has... If we click I, we can see our fuel is full. We have no damage. There's a slot for a tank here in case you ever run out of gas. You can make a canister like so, and you can fill up the canister with fuel, and then you can stick it in that slot, and it will add fuel to your car so that you can get to the gas station. So we can't get very far right now because our roads are not ready. Because this car doesn't jump. So this car does not jump. So when we run into a block, it stops. And if you run into the block too fast, it will cause damage to the car. So for now, I'm just going to shut the car off. I'm going to leave it here in the middle of the road because nobody else around here drives. And by the way, you can push these cars as well. If you hold down the shift key, you can push it. So if it runs out of gas and you need to push it to a gas station. So let's do a little bit of road building and talk about how these things perform. So as you could see, when I was moving around here slowly, the car has a really good turn radius. So you can make some really sharp turns. You can almost go in a pretty tight circle with the car. But just like in real life, when the car is going faster, you need a wider radius for a turn. So when we're building roads, we're going to want to take that into consideration. That we're not going to want to just have a bunch of 90-degree turns. We're going to want to have some nice soft turns in order for us to be able to maintain our higher speed. And we can use these asphalt blocks, which are part of this mod. You can use any blocks. It doesn't have to be asphalt. The car basically has the same capabilities as a player as far as the ability to go up half blocks. So you could have stairs here, and that would work just fine. But these blocks are asphalt blocks that you can craft, and there's a lower asphalt block that's crafted like this, and it's a 1-to-1 ratio, so each asphalt block gives you one lower asphalt slope, and then we have the upper asphalt slope. So this gives us a nice, soft, smooth, 2-block wide slope that we can use to go up hills like this, and then And then in areas like this, we'll probably be driving slow through the village so we can have sharp turns. But then what I want to do is I want to build a road connecting this village to this village. For now, that's what I want to start with. Eventually, maybe we'll build a huge bridge like we did with the train thing to go back to our base. But we'll see about that. And then this area, I want to be higher speed. So we're going to have some softer turns heading toward this village. So the upper asphalt slopes are like that. So they're kind of at the top half of the block, and then the lower asphalt slopes are like that, and they're at the bottom half of the block. So then it ends up meeting down here where we can put regular asphalt blocks. So once we have our roads, our asphalt placed, we can take our painter. Now I made a yellow painter. There's also a white painter, and if you shift right click it in the air, you can see all the different patterns that you can make. So right now I just want to make some middle short lines, and you just right click. And then if you want to get rid of it, you can actually break it like a block, and it uses a little bit of durability on the painter. And then let's say here we want to have there we go. Look at that. That is cool. So we can't paint the slopes, unfortunately. It's finally time to go for a ride. Hooray! So I made roads, as you can see, going all the way to the next village. It was quite a job leveling things off and making the curves real nice. Some of the curves we're going to have to slow down for. I did run out of asphalt, so there's a few stretches that are just like some of the flat stretches in the middle are just paths, like vanilla paths. So let's see how this thing rides. So again, we hit R to start the car. I actually did damage the car considerably while I was out there testing the road, crashing into things. So yeah. When we get back, we'll learn how to fix a damaged car. So we have to go kind of slow through here, which means I can't hold down the W key because there's no like gas pedal to like control your speed. So you basically control your speed by just tapping the W key. So if I just tap it a little bit, it'll. But if I hold it down, we start to go fast, and you can see this is top speed right here, 46.8, whatever that means. So I'm gonna slow down a little to go around this corner. Oh crap! It's a little tough to control these cars. It does take a little bit of practice to kind of figure out how they work. Here's a nice long stretch. And you can't hit animals with them because they just stop. As like if we hit this chicken, it doesn't even hurt the stupid chicken, but it hurts the car. and it makes it stop. And if we look, we have a little bit more damage now. But actually in later versions of this mod, you can use the horn to scare animals away. That's the H key, but it doesn't work in this version, unfortunately. Alright, get out of my way, chicken. And there we go. As you can see, this one's really steep, so we do have some 45-degree angles too, in addition to the ones that I showed you. And this is it. Here's our other village. I haven't finished doing the roads through the village yet, so this is as far as we can get. So let's head back to the other village and take a look at repairing our car. You do have to be careful. I mean, anytime you hit a block or an animal, as we saw, you will damage the car. Or if you fall in water, you'll damage the car severely. And if the car becomes completely damaged, it will stop running, and you'll have to push it to the repair shop or get a repair. Whoa. Okay, I fell off the road here. You don't want to fall into that pit down there because there's no way out. Uh-oh. So as you can see, when I go slow, I can do some really sharp turns, but not when I'm going fast. Okay, so to repair the car, we pull it into our little garage here. And then we right-click on the workshop. We can right-click anywhere on the workshop, just like before when we created the car. And we can say repair car. And then we have to give this thing 3. So this is showing us the current state of our car. It's like 43% damage. It's almost half damaged. And there are slots for 3 tools here. And you can see the repair car button is grayed out. We have to put the 3 tools in there: a screwdriver, a wrench, and a hammer. And I actually have all those things here. And just shift click, it'll put it in the right spot, and then we click repair car. It's going to repair the car a little bit and take some damage from the tools, and we can just keep doing that until our car is fully repaired. Hooray! So now if we go in our car and we hit I, we can see that our car has 0% damage. Nice. That is the Ultimate Cars mod. I do hope you enjoyed this. If you do have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them in the comment section below, or if you just want to say hello or whatever, go ahead, because I do enjoy chatting with you guys. And of course, if you did enjoy this, don't forget to click the like button and to join me next time. Thanks for watching. Bye!